time, please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. As this is a work session, we do not have public comment, but we do have a couple of appointments to be made this evening. So I will call on the village administrator to read off the mayoral appointments, please.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, we have two mayoral appointments this evening. First one, resolved, Mayor Manger appoints and requests a motion for the Board of Trustees to approve Wayne Moore to be appointed to the position of Maintenance Mechanic 3 of the Buildings Maintenance Department, scheduled to work Monday to Friday at a salary of $66,144.15, effective Friday, December 1st, 2023. Is there a motion?
Yes, I'm making the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Unanimous, 5-0. Second, resolved, Mayor Manger appoints and requests a motion for the Board of Trustees to approve Timothy Wilson to be appointed to the position of Maintenance Mechanic 2 to the Building Maintenance Department, scheduled to work Monday to Friday at a salary of $57,721.53, effective Friday, December 1st, 2023. Is there a motion?
Yes, I'll make the motion.
Second? Any opposed? Unanimous, 5-0.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0, unanimous.
Thank you. So we have some board presentations, and the first one will be by the Rotary of Southampton, represented by Linda De Benedetto, and it is for the Peace Pole, which is actually here behind our village administrator. I'm not sure if we want to maybe bring it out so we can show the public exactly what that is. Is Linda here? Maybe she is not here. Uh-oh.
She's not here.
This is our poll.
So, I guess I could speak on this.
Can you get a picture of that?
Actually,
Say- oh, there it goes.
could you put it in the
Okay.
front and center, maybe, Anthony, please? So the Rotary is joining in other Rotaries around the world in putting up this peace pole, which has it in many different languages. Hold on, I'm going to get this. It says, "May peace prevail on earth." And they have requested that this be placed near the clock that they donated that sits right at the front of Agawam Park. That clock that the Rotarians donated to the village near the entrance to the parking lot there by Agawam Park. So we have found a space to put this right along Job's Lane near that clock, and it actually will be unveiled there in mid-December, but I just wanted everyone to see what it is here in advance. And so we will discuss it further, but that is what the Rotarians are donating and are asking the village board to accept and place again near their clock in Agawam Park. Thank you very much, Anthony. The next board presentation is the Village Communications Plan, and this is led by Christian Pico of the Village Planning Commission. And I know that there are members of the first responders here, police department, dispatch. We have fire department represented, ambulance. We've got a lot of people represented here. But Christian, I'm going to turn it over to you, please.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Quickly, my name is Christian Pico, and I'm joined today by the men and women of the police, fire, EMS, and ocean rescue.
Oh yeah, don't forget Ocean Rescue. Sorry, Alex.
I didn't. The purpose of this presentation is to update the village board and the residents on the Planning Commission's work on how we're thinking to resolve communication issues in the village. As a reminder, and that's really for residents who are listening in or here today, the Planning Commission meets every Thursday of the month at 5:30 in Village Hall. The meetings are public, recorded, and available on YouTube for residents to listen in at any time. And we encourage participation. We often invite residents on task force to make recommendations to the village board. Our agenda and minutes from each meeting are available on southamptonvillage.org website. We're currently working on 4 key initiatives on the Planning Commission at the request of the village board, including today's presentation on public safety and village communication. So I'm going to share with you on the screen a presentation that we have prepared. And hopefully that'll come through. And it did. Thank you. To start, our mission is to improve communication for first responders and self-service for village residents. So we've done this, first of all, in coordinations with our first responders, and I want to thank the participation from Chief Hurto, Escobar, and McGinnis from Police, Fire, and Ambulance, respectively. And we are especially thankful for the contribution of SVPD Communications Specialist Brian LaMonica, who is part of the 911 team. And since the summer, Michel Bourgain has already been working with us on this initiative as a village resident and was quickly hired or joined the commission about a month ago. And as a sidebar, he is also now leading a task force for the review of penalty and offenses in the code, as well as understanding policies and procedures for their enforcement. Trustee Zanotti provided us with access to the right people at wireless carriers, which we'll speak about in a minute, which we couldn't have done without his Rolodex. Participated in all our meetings with first responders, carriers, tower operators, consultant, and legal. So on our task force, as I said, we have all the people named up on the presentation. See if I can get this to work. There we go. So our agenda, first we're going to discuss public safety issues, communication for police, fire, and EMS, and each one of the representatives from the agencies will address some of the issues that they have. We'll then talk about cell coverage issues from the 3 main carriers, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. And then we'll address some of the solutions, taking into account our first responders' priorities and then our residents' priorities. So what I'd like to do now is leave the mic to Brian to talk about police, and then we'll talk about fire, and then we'll finish with ambulance and their issues in terms of communication in the village. Brian?
Good evening, I'm Brian LaMonica from the Southampton Village Police Department Communications Section. Some of the issues that we have is our computers in the police cars. They use the Verizon network, and the certain sections of the village, it gets very spotty, especially in the summer. We lose communications to the cars when that happens, and they actually have to relog back into the system every time it happens, so we can no longer see them on the map if an emergency came up. We also can't see who the closest unit is to send them to an emergency when they lose the connection. So sometimes it does delay calls going out. Even cell phone coverage, when we have to call them when the system's not working, when they lose connection, if the computers aren't connecting, usually the cell phones aren't either. And that's usually just for gate codes and items like that. When we can't get in touch with them by computer, we call them by phone because we don't want to put that over the radio. Another issue we have now is on the roof of the police department. You can see all the antennas are up there. It's completely maxed out. For us to either increase our coverage by radio or anything like, or bring in more people into our comm center, we can't. We have no more room for antennas. They're actually a little too close than they should be already, and it will cause us major interference if we tried to. So that is completely maxed out. The major issue is, especially in the summertime, southwest section of our area, 911 callers, especially on the beachfront, we will lose the caller. You'll just get all staticky, we can't hear what they're saying, and the call will drop. So then we start a police officer going to that area. It's not an exact area with cellular to try to find them, but we also keep trying to call them back. But if they don't have the cell coverage, we can't reach them. It's mostly AT&T and T-Mobile right now. but we do have a few areas with Verizon, it will drop out, we'll lose the caller. So we don't know if they're going there for someone who, it's a pocket dial, or if it's a true emergency. It could be delaying calls. We don't know if it's EMS fire, so right now the police are just going to try to find them to see what they need. It does cause an issue with the cellular side. And that's it on the police side.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Brian, thank you. On the fire side, do you want to address that?
Is it gonna,
All
is
right.
it gonna be Manny or Ricky or both? Okay.
I
What
got
happened
Ricky
to
here.
Polis? No Polis, huh?
No
No,
pose.
he's,
Okay.
you're fine somewhere.
Okay.
First of all, I want to thank Mr. Pico and Zanetti for meeting with us a couple of times to discuss about communication in the in a district line for the fire service. For us, it's very important safety, right? And one of the safety is communication. Without that proper communication, we could lose communication with our membership, and it could get hurt many times. So that's what the radios, cell phone. There's certain areas in the district line that we lose communication. So it's hard to understand what we have if we actually have a structure fire, we have carbon monoxide or sulfur, and so that's a high priority. Prioritize is to prioritize the communication on the radio with the membership. So I got Chief Ricky Fowler. He's my equipment officer, communication guy, and he's been working a lot with the radio as well, and to see what we can improve. And so I'm going to pass the mic over to him. So.
Thank you. So as the chief stated, we're having radio difficulties. We're having coverage concerns. Right now we have one repeater. It's one tower. It's not getting our entire district, so we definitely have dead spots. When that happens, we're not able to contact our dispatchers. They're not able to contact us. If we try to fall back on the cell phones, usually in those areas, the cell phone is spotty as well. In addition to that, we have our pagers that notify our members when there's a call. So with the poor service, sometimes the pagers won't even activate. And additionally, we have a backup where we have text messaging. And again, the texts don't go through. So that's kind of where we're finding our issues. We definitely have a lot of dead zones. Right in the core, areas right close to the repeaters, yeah, that works. But when we get in the outskirts, we cover, not only the village of Southampton, but we have the outlying district as well. So we have a large area to cover that only one tower is covering right now. So, if with Mr. Pico here, we're looking at other avenues to possibly install other repeaters amongst the district, which will help broaden our coverage and help alert our volunteers when there's a call.
Ricky, where's the one tower located?
Right now, our one repeater is on Wireless Way, which is actually in the town. So, there's a variety of tests that we have to do, but we think that for additional towers would help us, spread the coverage out.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Thanks.
And do we have on ambulance? There we go. Thank you.
Of course, Kyle wants to speak.
You're at every meeting these days.
I'm Chief McGinnis of the Village Ambulance. Piggybacking off of Ricky, we also only have one repeater in the village, and that's at the top of this building. Brian said it's been installed since the police department was here. The biggest Achilles heel we have is once you go outside the village, which the majority of my membership is, the pagers sometimes don't even go off, especially down, by the beaches, stuff like that. We lose complete radio reception. I've missed calls because I don't turn the radio on because my wife rolls over and says, hey, shut it off, I don't want to hear it. But that's the biggest problem we have is basically there's not enough coverage with the repeater for our pagers to go off. And that's as simple as you drive up to the college and service drops tremendously. Another thing, we use tough books in the ambulances and chief trucks. A lot of times dispatch will send over gate codes, key locations, or personal information that someone may give dispatch in order for us to better help the patient. That's fine, during our off season, but come, summertime and we can't log onto our computers because Verizon drops out or something like that, we rely on the radios, and someone's got a scanner, they can get people's gate codes, key locations, intending to do something else. But that's our biggest problem right now with the ambulance is this repeater location. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
Okay, so Clearly, you have understood that communication issues are critical to saving lives, and response time is key to any emergency. So let me share now with you some of our findings and fact findings. We have spoken with each main carriers, and we'll speak about that in a minute, tower operators, certainly legal advisors as to how to deal with all this. East Hampton Town, who has a wireless master plan completed last year by consultant Cityscape, and we've also spoken with the Southampton Town Planning Office concerning 2 macro towers that will be going up in the second quarter of this following year, 2024, in North Sea by the transfer station and the Oakland docks. The carriers have been extremely receptive to working with us on a holistic basis to find a solution for our first responders and our residents. And every time we spoke to each one of these carriers, we laid 4 convincing arguments for them. 1, communication deficiencies with our first responders is a national priority since 9/11. 2, village residents' socioeconomic profile and the highly profitable source of revenue for these carriers. 3, the heavy workforce traffic which transits through the village. And 4, what I call COVID refugees since the last 2020 national population census. So let me share with you the carriers. So the biggest national carrier is AT&T with over 229 million subscribers. Verizon, T-Mobile, and Dish. In the population of Southampton, according to the Cityscape study that was done for East Hampton, but it applies to this community as well, T-Mobile and AT&T users collectively are about 52% of the market. Each one of you probably has one or the other, and Verizon is about 48%. So we've spoken to each one of these carriers, AT&T a couple of times, very good group, large group, very interested in what we're thinking about to solve for. Verizon, of course, has been here and out many times, and we've spoken to not only the regional sales guy, but their real estate people and a number of other people at Verizon and have really good conversations. T-Mobile, we've been ongoing conversations that have been taking place, including series of emails today. So they have a very good understanding of what we're trying to solve for. We have a good understanding of what their needs are. For instance, Verizon is propagating 700 megahertz in the village, which goes pretty far into the territory. But 850 is really what they need to have in order to have data properly propagating on Verizon, and especially at times in the summer when you need bandwidth, which carries and deals with congestion. So the issue are 2. 1, with Verizon for congestion, especially in the summer, and for AT&T and T-Mobile, the actual propagation, particularly in the southwest portion of the village, where we have very poor reception as a result. The solutions that 3 of the carriers are talking about are what we'll call macro towers. We have certainly with AT&T poor coverage, as I said, in the southwest quadrant of the village, and they need to increase propagation. T-Mobile is the same, though there is, and we'll talk about it in a minute, some discussion with some of their preferred tower operator, Crown Castle, to develop what's called a hybrid model, both macro towers, and nodes. Verizon, on the other hand, the key issue for them is to be able to increase their capacity in this area of the village, which will cover the whole village, given their issue with congestions. So in some of our research, speaking to all of the carriers, we also spoke to We also spoke to Crown Castle, one of the major national tower operator, which include American Tower, Crown Castle, and SBA Communications. So we spent a reasonable amount of time with Crown Castle. Understand that in January of last year, nationally, they signed a 12-year agreement with T-Mobile to develop in communities a hybrid model with nodes. And they did this because the government in 2018, wanting to bridge the digital divide, had gotten the FCC to pass an order allowing a operator to come into any communities right away and start installing nodes. And we've seen this beginning to happen in 2019 and on. It got slowed down, of course, during COVID, but they're back, and we see them putting nodes around communities already in Nassau and in other areas. So, and I'll get to in a minute about these nodes, but first let me explain to you where these tower locations are in the village. So you have one by the Southampton Hospital. You have another one by behind the train station on Millennium Drive. You have one on top of the water tower. You have one in the back of the golf range, which you may be familiar with. And you have one on the Stony Brook campus. And also, but only with one carrier, Verizon, at Cooper's Beach. So effectively, if you are operating with a telephone connected with T-Mobile or AT&T in the southwest quadrant of the village, you will often not get reception. And if you do for a 911 call, as Brian Lamonica said before, you will be able to use the Verizon carrier as an AT&T subscriber to reach the 911 desk. But the problem, and have a communication, but the problem is the 911 people won't know where the call comes from. And that's really a problem. We also know, and just had discussions with the Southampton town. They had a public hearing last month. And they will go forward with a tower operator called Tower Point. Yes, Tower Point. We'll build 2 towers, one at the transfer station, which will be at least a 100-foot pole in North Sea, and the other one by Oakland Docks. That's what we know so far in terms of that will be built. So that's where we are in terms of the towers and explain that. What I want to share with you now is what these nodes look like in a community that I was referring to earlier about Crown Castle. And this is a Crown Castle production. Sage, how do I get the sound?
Uh-oh, uh-oh. Not if it's gonna echo.
All right. I'll spare you the music on it, but you can see if this is working. Is this working? All right. So you can, I'll just briefly comment on it. So you can see these are single poles for single carriers. If you can get 3 carriers on some of these poles, and at the bottom, at the base there, you will see that you can have 3 radios for the 3 tower operators. But the more tower operators, the larger the base. This is what these things look like. They're basically at the height of a tree, so they can propagate just above tree lines. And this is what they look like throughout communities. And part of the effort from a legislative perspective, what one needs to do when a carrier who's allowed nationally by the FCC to come into a community is to legislate the looks of the nodes and the permitting process. And we'll be speaking about this in a minute. So, what we've decided.
Christian, who pays for the nodes?
So if a carrier decides to come in a community and install a hybrid model, which include nodes, that is paid by the tower operators. In this case, what I showed you, these were installed in communities by Crown Castle. Crown Castle then gets paid by the operators who are going to get on these nodes, either AT&T, T-Mobile, or Verizon.
But do they glom them onto existing streetlights, or do they build entirely new streetlights as shown in the pictures here?
It can be both. I mean, it really depends on how well you've blocked and tackled the situation by having a code which appropriately defines the looks of these nodes if they come into your community. And this is not a voluntary exercise by a community. They can come into a community at any time through the FCC order and have the right to do so. There's a permitting process, but it's fairly short, and that's what we're actually addressing tonight. So, just very quickly, as I said earlier, the federal government's mission to bridge the digital divide, this 2018 FCC order allows 5G deployment on right-of-ways, which is why in your packet today, and I'll have Council Powers just address this in a minute, we have in our packet a public hearing that we will hold for some of the changes for our code when it comes to PWSF, which are personal wireless service facilities, basically the nodes I described, or other types of propagation towers. So we need to create a comprehensive code for regulating and approval of those. And in essence, what we're trying to do here is to control the permitting process and the node aesthetic in a code if and when a operator decided through, a carrier decided through one of the operators, like Crown Castle, to come into a community. So that's the first effort that we're trying to do, and you'll see in your packet today proposed legislation for the update of these items, which will be in a public hearing, I guess, in January 11th. Eileen, do you want to jump in on that quickly?
No, not at this point.
Okay. Then the idea next is to do an RFP for tower operators to come and analyze in the village what the deficiencies are. You've heard from our first responders. We have a pretty good idea. You've heard from our discussions with the carriers. We also get some pretty good feedback in terms of what they'd like. And I can tell you that two are telling us one thing and a third one's telling us another. So we're going to have professionals figure this out as to what the best solution is. Tonight you will vote on a resolution to hire a RFP writer, Harris Beach, and we'll have to spend time with them to make sure that the RFP is in good shape in terms of what we're looking to solve for. Then after that, once we get this RFP back, we'll work on the determination and implementation, go through public consultation, location decisions, which we have absolutely not made at this point, the tower type, monopole or otherwise, and of course SECRA. So that's where we are at this point in terms of our efforts to improve communication for first responders and self-service for village residents. Happy to take any questions at this point.
Thank you, Christian. I had one question actually, and I'm glad that we still have some of the folks here, Brian and Kyle and the fire department. I mean, would it be possible to add repeaters in the village, like down at Cooper's or on the firehouses? Would that help us? I mean, I'm being told we only have like one repeater in the village.
You could, but you need the height of the antennas.
How high do they have to be?
You would have to check with providers, but it's probably gonna be 100 feet at least.
Oh, really? Okay.
If not, you're just moving the problem, you're not getting the reach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The issue specifically is the trees, right?
Exactly. You gotta
The
get
trees
top of the
cut the propagation.
I see. Okay. How do you think they'd like it at Shinnecock Hills Firehouse? Anyway, okay. I'll get a lot of mail tomorrow.
All
All
right,
right.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? No. Okay. All right. We were going to have a public hearing on a grievance appeals tonight, but that actually has been postponed at the request of counsel for the grievance. Eileen or Anthony, do you want to address this at all, just to explain why this has been postponed?
It was postponed at the request of the CSEA.
Okay, so
They wanted more time to look at it.
it's my understanding that it has been postponed until the next meeting of the Board of Trustees, which is December 14th. So we have agreed to the CSA's request for this to be postponed until that time, and so we are doing that. At this time, Anthony will go to communications to the board, please.
We have one communication.
Thank
It
you,
is-
gentlemen, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We have one communication as a correspondence from the Brigham family, and they wrote in to express their concerns with the water treatment facility and the potential location. So they wanted to voice their concerns, and that's the only communication that we had.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, why don't we move straight ahead to suggested resolutions, please.
Okay, we have 15 resolutions, and we'll start with the first one. Resolved, the claims for the warrant dated November 21st, 2023, totaling $283,511.14. Warrant number A-12, General Fund, $345,671.45. Warrant number H-6, Capital Fund, and $4,076.45. Warrant T-12, Trust Fund, are being audited and approved. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, 5-0. Second one. Resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby accepts from the Southampton Rotary the donation of the peace pole, May Peace Prevail on Earth, which will be placed inside of the Rotary clock on Job's Lane. An unveiling ceremony is scheduled to be held on Saturday, December 16th, 2023, at 11 o'clock a.m. The board thanks the Southampton Rotary for this generous gift of peace. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, 5-0. Number 3, whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton is considering amending 116, Attachment 1, Table of Zoning Map Amendments of the Village Code of Southampton, which will amend the zoning map of the village pursuant to 116-39 of the Village Code, and which will reclassify areas along Meadow Lane that are now in the R-80 Residence District to instead be in the R-120 Residence District as recommended by the Village of Southampton Comprehensive Plan, updated in 2022. And whereas Nelson, Pope, and Voorhees, LLC, the Village of Southampton's environmental planning consultant, has conducted an analysis of the proposed action, which is presented in the Meadow Lane Planning Study, dated August 27th, 2023, and which provides further support for the zoning map amendment. And whereas the matter was referred to the Suffolk County Planning Commission for review pursuant to the General Municipal Law, Section 239-M, which was acknowledged and received on October 12th, 2023. And whereas on November 14th, 2023, the Suffolk County Planning Commission issued a letter of local determination, and whereas a public hearing was held by the Village Board of Trustees on November 9th, 2023, at which time all persons either for or against such amendment were heard. And whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton has determined that this local law considered a Type 1 action under 6 New York City RR Part 617.4 provisions of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQRA, SEQRA, and whereas Nelson Pope and Voorhees, LLC, prepared a full environmental assessment form, including Part 1, dated October 13th, 2023, and Parts 2 and 3, dated November 3rd, 2023, which identified no significant adverse environmental impacts. Now therefore, it be resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby assumes lead agency status as there are no other involved agencies and issues a negative declaration pursuant to SEQRA as there are no significant negative environmental impacts anticipated by this zoning amendment. And it be further resolved that local law 17 of 2023 is hereby adopted. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you.
Number 4, be it resolved, the village board hereby directs that a public hearing shall be held as a hybrid in-person Zoom meeting on December 14th, 2023 at 6:00 p.m. at the Village Boardroom at Southampton Village Hall, located at 23 Main Street, Southampton, New York, 11968, to hear any and all persons either for or against proposed local law entitled A Local Law Amending Section 110-43, Schedule 1, Stopping, Standing, and Parking Restrictions of Chapter 110 of the Village Code to regulate stopping, standing, and parking restrictions. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? This is just putting into effect, or we will discuss at the meeting on the 14th, putting into effect what was a temporary measure instituted by the chief of police to add the one additional parking space on the south side of Layton Avenue, close to North Main Street. Chief, I don't know if you wanted to say anything further about this, but there's been no adverse impact. I see Mrs. Paremba is in the room. This was the one space, as you know, down close to North Main Street. I think that is shown to be of negligible impact to anyone on the street. And so we're going to have a public hearing on the 14th, at which time anyone can come forward and speak for or against it. But that's what this is putting on the agenda, just to put in code that one additional parking space if at that time there's no significant opposition. Okay, I just want to explain it.
It's North Sea Road. Is it North Main?
No, it is on North Main.
It is
It's
on
North Main, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
Okay.
unanimous, 5-0. Number 6, be it resolved, the village board hereby directs that a public hearing be held as a hybrid in-Zoom meeting on January 11th, 2024 at 6:00 p.m. at the Village Boardroom in Southampton Village Hall, located at 23 Main Street, Southampton, New York, 11968, to hear any and all persons either for or against a proposed law entitled A Local Law Adding Article 10 to Chapter 116 of the Code of the Village of Southampton, creating a comprehensive code for regulating and approving personal wireless service facilities with the village. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, 5-0.
Mr. Carter, I don't think you did number 5.
Yeah, that was 6, wasn't it?
We
Yeah.
just read number 6, if you can go back and do 5. They're very similar, so.
Yeah.
but they're
Number
different.
5, be it hereby resolved, the village board hereby directs that a public hearing shall be held as a hybrid in-Zoom meeting on January 11th, 2024 at 6 p.m. at the Village Boardroom in Southampton Village Hall, located at 23 Main Street, Southampton, New York, 11968, to hear any and all persons either for or against a proposed local law entitled A Local Law Amending Chapter 116 of the Village Code of Southampton by deleting Section 116-23, sub 27, wireless facilities in all zoning districts, as the village is simultaneously herewith creating a comprehensive code for regulating and approving personal wireless service facilities with the village.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Number 7, be it resolved that the village board hereby directs a public hearing shall be held as a hybrid in-person Zoom meeting on January 11th, 2024 at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Village Boardroom at the Southampton Village Hall, located at 23 Main Street, Southampton, New York, 11968, to hear any and all persons either for or against a proposed local law entitled A Local Law Amending Chapter 116-2, Definitions and Word Usage of the Village Code of Southampton by adding definitions to support proposed Article 10 of Chapter 116, Personal Wireless Service Facilities.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Number 8, be it resolved that the board hereby directs a public hearing shall be held as a hybrid in-person Zoom meeting on January 11th, 2024 at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Village Boardroom at the Southampton Village Hall, located at 23 Main Street, Southampton, New York, 11968, to hear any and all persons either for or against a proposed local law entitled A Local Law Amending Chapter 116-38, Site Plan Review of the Village Code of Southampton to support proposed Article 10 of Chapter 116, Personal Wireless Service Facilities.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0, unanimous. Number 9, be it resolved, the village board hereby directs a public hearing shall be held as a hybrid in-person Zoom meeting on January 11th, 2024 at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Village Boardroom at the Southampton Village Hall, located at 23 Main Street, Southampton, New York, 11968, to hear any and all persons either for or against a proposed law entitled A Local Law Amending Chapter 116-3, Classes of Districts of the Village Code of Southampton to support proposed Article 10 of Chapter 116, Personal Wireless Service Facilities.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, 5-0. Number 10, resolved, the Board of Trustees authorizes the village attorney and village assessor to enter into a stipulation to settle in Article 7 tax lien litigation between the village and Linda Munn related to property located at 31 Foster Crossing and further identified on the Suffolk County tax map at 0904-00-00-00-007.000, and that settlement reduces the annual assessed value of the amount of $3,404 for tax years 2015 and 2016 through 2020 and 2021, as identified in the proposed stipulation negotiated between the village assessor and Farrell Fritz, PC, attorneys for Linda Munn.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, 5-0. Number 11, resolved, the mayor of the Village of Southampton, subject to approval as to the form by the village attorney, is authorized to enter into an agreement at a cost not to exceed $10,000 with Harris Beach LLP for the preparation of a request for proposals for the village public safety and other radio cellular development on village-owned property within the village to be paid from trustees' special projects.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, unanimous, 5-0. Number 12, resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the refund request received from the Southampton Village Building Department pertaining to a building permit fee in the amount of $1,425.00 received from the Laurel Group for an installation of a pergola located at 55 Cooper's Neck Lane, which was never installed.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, 5-0. Number 13, resolved, the Board of Trustees accepts a letter of resignation from Kyle Kajansky, laborer in the Highway Department, effective December 1st, 2023.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, 5-0. Number 14, resolved, the Board of Trustees accepts the resignation of Southampton Village Fire Department Agawam Hose Company 1 member Roger Leviskia with 2.91 years of service, effective November 21st, 2023.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, 5-0. Resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the Stony Brook Southampton Hospital to hold its annual 2024 Hamptons Marathon Half Marathon Capstone event on Saturday, September 28th, 2024, from 7:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Donations are generously provided to Stony Brook Southampton Hospital, Southampton Youth Services, Southampton Educational Foundation, Southampton Village Ambulance, and Project Most.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, 5-0.
Okay, thank you very much, Administrator Carter. We will now go to comments from board members.
Sir, we have two,
I'm sorry.
two supplemental resolution agendas.
Two add-ons for the.
Two add-ons,
Is that resignations also?
Walk-ons? What?
This was the budget amendments.
Could I see what those are? Please.
They're ministerial, basically.
Are they?
Yeah. They're right here.
Transferring within lines.
Right.
It's within lines.
Okay. All right, well, so let's, I'm gonna ask for a motion then that these be walked on. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, then let's, is this your copy? Do you have, can you read these? Or
I
do you-
can read-
Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay, number 1, resolve the Board of Trustees approves the attached budget amendment number 355 for various shortfalls to be covered with transfers from other budget lines within departments in the amount of $485,910.05.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, 5-0. Number 2, resolved that the Board of Trustees directs the Treasurer's Office to make the following attached budget modification to fund Cooper's Beach shortfalls with excess beach permit revenue collected and to record to the county-approved community development block grant CDBG. Increase revenue, A, 4901, federal aid, community development in the amount of $19,000.00. A, 2017, Cooper's sale and rental in the amount of $28,888.33. Increase expense, A, 8989.4, community development in the amount of $19,000. A, .7141.1, Cooper's Beach, salary in the amount of $17,997.51. A, 7141.41, Cooper's Beach, material and supplies in the amount of $9,524.16. And the last one, A, 7141.803, Cooper's Beach, Social Security, Medicare in the amount of $1,366.66. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, 5-0.
All right, now we can go to comments from board members. We'll start with trustee Aresta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just, a couple of things, a little update on the World War I monument. And last week, we received a very generous donation that brought us almost to the $100,000 mark. We're still looking for donations. In the meantime, I also wanted to let everyone know that we are exploring possibilities of some grants that we might be entitled to, and you're going to see some work being done there and assessments being done on the monument. So that was brought up at the last meeting, and I just wanted to give an update about that, the monument in Agawam Park. Paving has been completed on the west side of the village. Along with various draining issues that we've had there as well. So, of course, the drainage was fixed first, and then paving is done. So paving is just about completed now for the year. We met with Johnson Controls today, who is tackling our environmental, helping us going green in the village, and you're going to start seeing them working on the interior and exterior lighting throughout the village, street lights, and along in the central part of the village and on the main streets. And we have a schedule of work that will be performed over the course of the winter, and hopefully but next year by this time we'll be totally green, right? So Saturday is our big parade of lights right after Thanksgiving, Saturday evening. So that starts at about 4:45. That's a big gathering. It's almost getting as big as the 4th of July parade, I think, now. So I just wanted to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving and hope to see you at the Parade of Lights. Thank you.
All right, thank you, trustee Aresta. We'll go to trustee Brown.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to announce that we are forming a relationship with our school district, and happy to say that we'll be introducing Generation SOS, which is a community where teens share their stories about mental health struggles, social pressures, and substance without a stigma or shame. They will learn how to cope with skills to cope with these things and how they can befriend those that are in trouble. So we're very proud that we're going to be joining with them. We know that this is a big thing for our youth, and it happens to be more receptive when they have young people that are able to talk about the triumph. So we're happy to say that we'll be joining with Generation SOS and leading For the summer, we have some ideas as far as lessons from legends to inspire our young people. And that will be bringing in legends to talk about how they arrived from their past to where they are now and assisting them to be successful in the future and to inspire them. And on the last note of our Be Inspired, it was very successful over September to the point where the young people were so engaged that Peter Marino was kind enough to invite these young people to his studio in the city, and we had a day out at his studio and a private tour of Tiffany. And it is my hope, as well as Mr. Marino's, that we will inspire young people to get into architecture and also to appreciate the arts. So that is it, and I'd like to wish everyone a happy holiday, and I'd like to say hello to Mr. Farrell. I haven't seen you in a little bit. Congratulations on your new baby, and wishing everyone a happy and healthy holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. We will go to Trustee Stevenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank Christian Pico and his committee for the presentation this evening. The importance of being able to communicate in our village for our first responders is just so important. And I don't think anybody really realized how deficient it was, as the testimony of the various chiefs made clear this evening. When you can't know where people are, when you're losing your conversation, when you're losing your computer link up in today's day and age, it's a big problem. I recall when I was a boy, all of a sudden the horn would go off with a series of beeps on the horn telling the fire people where the fires were. We've come a long way since then, but now we don't even have that. If the cell phones don't work and you don't have the horn blowing, you don't even know where to go. So it's very, very critical that we move forward with this. So again, hats off to Christian Picot, Michelle Brugard, our trustee Lenny Zananti. I met with Christian not so long ago and could not believe, as he discussed this with me, how complicated and technical and deep these discussions have to be to figure out how to do the right thing. It's not easy, and all of these people have spent a lot of time working on it, and we have to thank them for that. And thank you, Chief Hertow and Mr. LaMonica and Mr. McGinnis and Fowler, Escobar, everybody, for taking the time to think about this and make sure we act proactively about it, to make sure that we're going to figure out the best thing for us rather than just having it happen to us. So again, hats off and thank you very much. I'd also like to just thank, Thanksgiving is coming up in a few days. I'd like to wish all of the residents in the village a very happy Thanksgiving, and don't eat too much turkey, but eat just enough. But also remember that on that day, while we're all sitting back enjoying the football or whatever and having a glass of wine, there will be members of our first responders and our dispatchers who will be sitting there ready to help us should anything bad happen. So we have to be thankful for them. And just want to express my own personal thanks as we look around at this crazy world. How grateful I am to be here in this village, safe and enjoying life when in so many other places in the world they are not. So happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Trustee Stevenson. We'll go to Trustee Zananti.
Thank you, Mayor. With respect to the village communication plan, I want to thank the members of the Planning Commission, especially Christian Pico and Michelle Brogard, for the extensive and complete research with respect to this important public safety issue. They have spearheaded the efforts with Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, as well as East Hampton and cell site developers. I also want to thank the backbone of our public safety operations, Chief Hertow, Dispatcher LaMonica, Fire Chief Manny Escobar, EMS Chief Kyle McGinnis, and Information Czar Ricky Fowler. and Alex and the good people from Ocean Rescue. Also, I would like the public to know tonight that our mayor has been chosen by the incoming county executive to be on the transition committee. And he serves with distinction since he's the only mayor that has been asked to be on the transition committee. So congratulations, Mayor.
Thank you, Len.
And a healthy and happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Zananti. And I'm hoping that serving on that committee, we can address some of the traffic issues with the new incoming county executive, since County Road 39 is one of the issues that we need to work on. And I have spoken to Ed Romaine a couple of times already about that, and so I look forward to working with him on that and other issues that the village has to engage the county on. I do want to just say that we are working on taking down some dead trees in the village. This is a good time of year to do that, and planting new trees. Some may have seen that we planted a couple of new trees in Agawam Park, Hampton Road, and we will be adding new trees on North Sea Road as you come into the village off of County Road 39. We're also going to be adding some new street lights, and again, we're really trying to beautify that entrance corridor to the village. So I'm hoping that by again next summer it will be transformed. Speaking about other transformations, we are going to be redoing, and this is in regards to Veterans Day that was just last weekend. We were in the Vets Hall, and I noticed that the floor in the bar room there in the kitchen is in disrepair. So we are actually going to be redoing the floor in Veterans Hall. I did speak to Bob Grisnick about this, and so the floor in the bar room and the kitchen will be redone. The village will expend some capital to do that, but we got a very good deal, so that's going to be done. I'm hoping before the end of the calendar year. So I'm happy about that. And again, I want to say that Chief Hurtow did an amazing job today with her officers in Bill Masterson's funeral, which I attended earlier today at the Basilica, and she and her officers went all out to make sure that the procession and the motorcycle really performed outstandingly for the family, the Masterson family, and their extended family, all their cousins, and all the friends that were gathered there at the church. And so she got a shout out from Kathy Masterson during the service there for the hard work she did, and she said that her father would be very proud of Chief Hurtow. So I did want to mention that now that the chief is sitting here in the audience. And finally, yes, of course, I want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving and invite everybody to please come to the tree lighting on Saturday. And I want to thank former trustees Polaro and Parrish for the hard work they put in on putting that all together, because they work very, very hard to make sure that that is a success. And Julie Fitzgerald also works very hard on putting this together. So I do want to thank all of them for what I know is going to be an outstanding turnout, and really shows the village in all its best glory on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And this year it falls on the 25th, so it's exactly 1 month before Christmas. And so again, I'm hoping everybody shows up for that. And there will be a special person lighting the tree this year, and that is, in fact, Chief Suzanne Hurtow. So anyway, thank you all very much. And with that, I would like to make a motion to adjourn to executive session for legal and contractual matters. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's 8:30 p.m. We are coming out of executive session and going to a regular session for the purpose of I'm making a motion to close this meeting of the Village Board of Trustees on November 21st, 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. Good night.